When the movie, Sleep, started, I was surprised because I wondered if anyone could sleep so fast. In the theater, it's dark just before the movie starts, and then the production company's title goes up, and then I hear the sound of someone snoring. I thought someone was already snoring, because sometimes people snore in the theater. But then I realized it wasn't, it was coming from the screen, and it was Lee Sun-gyun, the character of Yun-soo, sleeping soundly. To be honest, I felt a little sleepy even before the movie started. Bong Joon-ho famously said that Sleep is the most unique horror movie I've seen in the last 10 years, and it's true, starting with the ending. I had no idea that this movie was a horror movie, because I knew that it was just about Lee Sun-gyun sleeping, and most people don't think it's scary because it's something that happens when you're sleeping. The music is also a big part of it, because as soon as the movie starts, there's scary music, and that's what determines the genre of the movie. I wouldn't call it a horror movie. There are very few horror devices, but it does make people feel scared. Soo-jin's character, Yoo-mi, is awakened by a rustling sound. She opens her eyes to see Yun-soo sitting on the end of her bed. He says in a low voice, "Someone's in here." Soo-jin tells him to go outside. Immediately, Yun-soo collapses on the bed and sleeps. Soo-jin smirks and tries to go back to sleep, but then hears a noise outside and goes outside. She goes out to the living room and everything seems fine, until she hears a noise that startles her. The movie depicts this in a rather scary way and creates tension in the audience. It could have been any number of things, but it makes something so mundane seem so serious and scary. It turns out that the wind was blowing and the veranda door was caught on something and couldn't close. I closed the door and went to sleep thinking it was a little weird. This is where Yun-soo and Soo-jin's strange, nervous breakdowns really begin. Hyun-soo had won awards for his acting in the theater and now had a small role in a TV drama. While Soo-jin was doing well in her job at her company, and now she was pregnant. If nothing else, Hyun-soo is a great sleeper. He sleeps so well that you can't tell who's carrying him. He sleeps so well that Soo-jin can't wake him up even if she slaps him. When Yun-soo is sleeping, he scratches his cheek because he's itchy. He scratches a little too hard, so Soo-jin doesn't let him scratch, but he scratches again, so he puts a kitchen mitten on his hand and sleeps soundly. In the morning, Soo-jin wakes up to find Hyun-soo's cheeks covered in blood. When she walks out into the living room, she sees blood all over the floor. You're worried that Yun-soo might have wandered off in his sleep. When I watched it in the theater, there were people screaming in surprise when they saw the blood on Yun-soo's cheek, and I thought to myself, I'm going to hear a lot of screaming while watching this movie. There are 3 chapters in the movie, and it was a little scary until the middle of chapter 2. I think there were actually 2 or 3 screams in total. The next day, Soo-jin was working late at night on some company business. Yun-soo, who she thought was sleeping soundly, isn't in bed. She gets a strange feeling and goes to the living room. Yun-soo is in front of the refrigerator, where he's eating something intently. He eats in an almost trance-like state. He just eats the meat raw. No one in their right mind would ever do that. Meat is better, even fish, because he just puts it in his mouth whole. You go to a sleep clinic and are told it's REM sleep. You're told to take medication to treat it. The problem is that Hyun-soo's behavior is getting worse and worse. You think it's okay because he's not doing anything dangerous to Soo-jin right now. But then there's another problem. Hyun-soo wakes up in the middle of the night like he's sleepwalking. Soo-jin gets a bad feeling and goes out to the living room, but there's no sign of the puppy. No matter how hard she looks, she can't find him. There's a mess of food on the living room floor. Along with this, there is a lot of dog hair. Soo-jin looks inside the refrigerator and freaks out. Then, as the scene ends, Soo-jin gives birth. Suddenly, the movie takes a strange turn. Up until this point, it's simply been about Yun-soo sleepwalking, which is uncomfortable. But not scary. He can't control what he does when he sleeps, and it doesn't matter if he hurts someone because he's sleepwalking. he's completely unaware of what he's doing, and it's getting progressively worse. I said there are 3 chapters in the movie. Chapter 1 is the discovery of Yun-su's sleepwalking. And Chapter 2 is that someone could be in danger from his behavior. In Act 3, the focus shifts to Soo-jin. There's an important phrase that runs through the whole movie: they have a child. It's that the couple needs to get through this together. Obviously, there's a solution that Yun-soo suggests, which is to sleep in a nearby studio at night. Which is the smartest thing to do, but Soo-jin is against it. She says that if something goes wrong, they have to work through it together. And that's when things start to go sideways and Soo-jin's nervous breakdown starts to show. In a good way, it's her instinct to protect her one and only child. Toward the end of the movie, things get really edgy and nerve-wracking. You could almost call it a full-blown rampage by Jung. Instead, I honestly didn't get it, because I spent almost 70 minutes trying to make sense of Soo-jin's behavior, for the sake of the remaining 20 minutes. I guess that's something you'll have to judge for yourself.